Miss Linda Osifo is the stunning, powerful billionaire CEO every young man dreams about, but behind her luxury and power lies a secret obsession. From turning her office into a private playground to choosing employees based on looks rather than skills, Linda always got what she wanted. But when Jack, a mysterious, impossibly handsome young man, walks into her life, everything changes. He's not just another toy for her collection. He's her ultimate challenge and her unexpected downfall. Follow the twisted journey of love, power, and desire as Linda falls helplessly into a world she can't control.
Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on post notification so you don't miss our next story. All right, let's get to it.
The morning sun sparkled against the glass walls of Solace Group's headquarters in Victoria Island, Lagos, turning the building into a gleaming fortress of wealth and power. Inside, the hum of the central AC mixed with whispered prayers and nervous breaths. Miss Linda Osifo sat at the head of a long mahogany conference table, legs crossed elegantly. Even sitting down, she commanded the room. She was the kind of woman whose beauty didn't just enter the room, it owned it. Her fair skin looked as smooth as silk, her honey blonde wig styled into soft waves that bounced whenever she turned her head. At 48, her body still turned heads like a 25-year-old runway model, with curves that could spark a riot on social media. She wore a fitted white blouse with delicate lace trimming and a deep emerald pencil skirt that clung to her hips like a second skin. A thin gold necklace gleamed at her throat, and her nails, painted deep red, drummed against a golden pen. Rows of young male applicants sat nervously, each one praying silently. They thought they were there to showcase their skills and sell their career dreams. But Miss Osifo had different criteria. Her eyes glided over each man like a lioness eyeing a herd of antelope. When Cunnell's turn came, he nearly stumbled as he stood. Tall, lean and radiant with youthful energy, his dark bronze skin contrasted perfectly with his crisp white shirt. His eyes darted around until they met hers, and she felt it. That spark. She slowly removed her reading glasses and leaned forward, lips parting slightly. Cunnell, right? Tell me, what drives you? He cleared his throat nervously. I believe in hard work and integrity. I want to build a future for my family and make you proud. Her tongue flicked across her lower lip. Family, That's adorable. She then gave a mischievous smirk. Do you have a girlfriend? Cunnell almost gasped. I'm married, Ma. My wife is my everything. Interesting, she whispered, as if tasting the word. Then she shut his file without a glance. You're hired. You can start tomorrow. Cunnell's jaw dropped. Thank you, Ma. Thank you so much. God bless you, Ma. He almost danced out, disbelief and excitement oozing from every pore. As he stepped into the hallway, he let out a shaky laugh, his heart pounding. The other men stared in shock while Miss Osifo leaned back, savoring her victory. At home that night, Cunnell burst through the door. Baby, I got it. I got the job. God has answered us. His wife, Adeola, screamed and leapt into his arms. They hugged tightly, both crying. God is faithful, she kept shouting. But in the deepest corners of his mind, Cunnell felt an unexplained chill, a warning he could not yet understand. Cunnell barely slept the night before his first day at Solace Group. The morning light barely kissed the rooftops when he jumped out of bed, heart thrumming with excitement. He took extra time polishing his shoes, ironing his shirt twice, and rehearsing his greeting in the mirror. Good morning, Ma, he repeated over and over, practicing his brightest, most humble smile. His wife, Adeola, watched him, giggling softly. You'll spoil that mirror with all your teeth, she teased, pulling him closer and planting a supportive kiss on his cheek. As Cunnell stepped out, he felt like he was floating. The street hawkers calling out for gala and soft drinks faded into the background. Today, he wasn't just another young man trying to survive Lagos. He was a Solace Group staff, about to step into a world of dreams. When he arrived at the towering glass building, he marveled at the revolving doors and the scent of imported air fresheners wafting through the marble lobby. Everyone seemed to glide rather than walk. Women wore pencil skirts that cut through the air like knives. Men had perfectly tailored suits and watches that sparkled with every handshake. He proudly presented himself at the reception, his voice a mix of excitement and fear. "Good morning, I'm Colonel New Staff." The receptionist barely looked up. "Collect your tag and proceed to your assigned cubicle," she said, sliding a shiny badge toward him. Inside his new department, Connell's eyes darted from the sleek computer setups to the glass partitions that reflected his stunned expression. Everyone seemed so busy and important. As he settled into his cubicle, he took a moment to thank God again silently. Barely an hour into work, a company-wide email notification pinged on his screen. He squinted, his heart thudding as he read, "Connell, kindly report to Miss Linda Ossifo's office immediately." "Thank you." His mouth went dry. He stood shakily, smoothed his shirt again, and made his way to the executive floor. With each step, he felt like he was climbing Mount Everest. When he arrived at her office door, he knocked gently. "Come in," she purred from inside. He pushed the door slowly and felt the breath rush out of his lungs. There she was, Miss Linda Ossifo, standing behind her large mahogany desk. She wore a robe that hung loosely, revealing hints of smooth, glowing skin beneath. She turned to face him fully, her robe slipping to the floor without a sound. "Close the door, Connell," she ordered. His fingers trembled as he obeyed, unable to believe his eyes. "I brought you here to truly welcome you," she said, stepping closer, her heels clicking softly on the marble floor. The air seemed to thicken around them. "You have two options," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "Take advantage of this moment, or walk out and lose everything." Connell's entire body went numb. His thoughts flew to Adeola, to their prayers, to the celebration just last night. But Linda's perfume, a dangerously sweet scent, wrapped around him, fogging every last shred of reason. Before he could find words, her lips were on his, fierce and demanding. His body gave in before his mind could catch up. He became just another instrument in her twisted orchestra. When he stumbled out an hour later, he looked like a man who had walked through a hurricane. His shirt clung to his skin, and his eyes were blank, almost haunted. As he slumped into his cubicle, his phone buzzed. "How's your first day going, baby?" Connell stared at the message for a long time, his heart a heavy stone inside his chest. He wanted to reply with joy, but no words came. Only guilt. Later that week, the neon lights of Lagos twinkled like scattered stars, casting a romantic glow over the city's bustling nightlife. In a private rooftop lounge overlooking the Victoria Island lagoon, Miss Linda Ossifo sat draped in an emerald silk dress that shimmered under the soft lighting. Her honey blonde wig framed her face perfectly, each curl looking freshly styled. Seated around her were her closest circle of friends, powerful, wealthy women who ran various industries in Lagos like hidden empresses. Bola, the boldest of them, managed a media empire. Kemi owned one of the largest fashion houses in West Africa, and Adora, the quietest but most cunning, controlled half of the private schools in Lekki. Their laughter rippled across the rooftop as waiters floated around, delivering plates of grilled seafood, peppered snails, and glasses of sparkling rose. The table buzzed with stories of recent conquests and business coups. Linda took a slow sip, savoring the cold bubbles before she leaned in. "I finally found a new toy, fresh, obedient, and oh so nervous," she purred, her eyes glinting. Bola burst into loud laughter. "Huh, you, still on this hunting sport?" Adora wagged her finger. "Some of these young men don't even know what hit them. Last week, my driver quit after just 1 month. He couldn't handle me." They all roared with laughter. Bola leaned forward conspiratorially. "You know, I always say men are cheaper than pure water. I'm not even that good looking. All I have to do is whisper that I'm not wearing any underwear, and they become so weak they might even pass out." Linda laughed so hard she nearly spilled her drink, wiping tears from her eyes with her gold-embroidered napkin. At that moment, a young, exceptionally handsome waiter approached their table with a tray of fresh cocktails. He moved gracefully, his sleeves rolled up to reveal toned forearms. His eyes flicked nervously between the women, sensing he was a gazelle among lions. Adora tilted her head, her eyes scanning him up and down like a tailor taking measurements. Who is this fine young man?" "Come closer," she said with a wicked grin. He shifted awkwardly, trying to keep his professional composure. Bola, always the most reckless, stood abruptly. You, follow me, she commanded, pointing toward a dimly lit corner behind the lounge bar. The women exploded in peals of laughter as Bola dragged the poor waiter away. Within minutes, the others could hear faint giggles and muffled moans from the corner, barely covered by the rooftop music. Linda leaned back, her eyes following them with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. She had long accepted her friend's wildness because, deep down, they mirrored her own. They were her tribe, women who took what they wanted and felt no shame about it. Kemi clinked her glass against Linda's. To our Lagos kingdom, she toasted. To the kingdom, Linda echoed, a sly smile playing at her lips. As they sipped, Linda's mind wandered back to Cunnel, his terrified eyes, his trembling hands, the taste of his lips when he finally surrendered. A low heat pooled in her stomach. The thought made her even more excited about what else she could make him do. The night wore on with wild stories and reckless laughter echoing over the lagoon. To outsiders, they were refined, sophisticated businesswomen. But to each other, they were queens of a secret empire, powerful, unrepentant, and always hungry for more. The next day, the Solace Group office was buzzing as usual. Phones rang nonstop, elevator doors opened and closed with mechanical precision, and staff bustled around carrying files and cups of steaming coffee. But somewhere deep inside the building, a certain excitement brewed beneath the surface, a silent understanding that no one dared to discuss openly, but everyone knew. Miss Linda Ossifo's stilettos clicked rhythmically as she walked down the hallway, each step echoing like a warning bell. Today she wore a striking red power suit that hugged her curves perfectly, her honey blonde wig bouncing slightly with each purposeful step. Her lips were painted a deep, bold red, and her eyes carried a glint that made many of the young male staff break into nervous sweats. Linda's destination today was the IT department, a glass-walled room glowing softly from dozens of monitors and blinking servers. As she entered, her perfume, sweet yet commanding, spread like a silent alarm. The IT staff, mostly young men, glanced up immediately. Some tried to look busy, rapidly typing nonsense on their keyboards. Others sat frozen, shoulders stiff with fear and anticipation. Linda paused at the entrance, scanned the room slowly like a queen surveying her kingdom. Finally, she pointed two perfectly manicured fingers at her targets. You and you. To my office. Now. The two chosen men swallowed hard, exchanging terrified glances. One of them, Toby, was a tall, dark-skinned guy with tight curls and an athletic build. The other, Femi, had softer features and usually carried an almost shy demeanor. They stood shakily and followed her out like condemned men marching to the gallows. As soon as the door closed behind them, two other IT staff members burst into suppressed giggles. Guy, she don't pick them today, oh, one whispered. Now who go survive this round? Last week. Emeka Day limping like say he fight lion, the other replied, shaking his head. In her office, Linda stood by the window overlooking the Lagos skyline. The city shimmered below, but inside, a different kind of storm was brewing. She turned to face them slowly, her red suit jacket already unbuttoned. Gentlemen, ready for your performance? She asked, her voice honeyed, but with an edge of steel. Femi's lips parted as if to protest, but Linda was already upon him. She grabbed his tie, pulling him toward her forcefully. Toby stood frozen in horror as she wrapped a silk blindfold around Femi's eyes and pushed him into her velvet chair. Toby, undress him, she ordered sharply without breaking eye contact. Toby hesitated, his trembling fingers hovering uselessly. Linda tilted her head slightly. Or do you want to be out of a job today? Swallowing audibly, Toby obeyed. The tension in the room crackled like an electric fence, the air thick with heat and fear. Linda moved between them like a maestro conducting a dark, forbidden symphony, whispering commands, switching between the two men with deliberate, calculated movements. Outside her office, the waiting area filled up quickly. Several potential business partners and vendors sat impatiently, checking their watches. A stern-looking man in a dark blue agbada approached the receptionist. Excuse me, I've been waiting for almost 2 hours. What exactly is holding up Miss Osifo? He demanded angrily. The receptionist, a young man fiercely loyal to Linda, crossed his arms defensively. She is currently engaged in a very important strategy session, he snapped, his voice dripping with passive aggression. The man's eyebrows shot up in shock. What nonsense is this? Do you people think we don't have work to do? Without waiting for a reply, he stormed out, muttering curses under his breath. Back inside, Linda's soft moans mixed with the muffled whimpers of the two men, echoing against the thick glass walls. She was in her own universe, a goddess playing with her chosen marionettes, completely disconnected from the outside world. And in her mind, she had only one rule: pleasure first, business second. Always. The next morning at Solace Group felt electric, as if the building itself was whispering secrets through the marble walls. Sunlight spilled into the lobby, bouncing off polished floors and shimmering glass partitions. Staff hustled past each other with files tucked under their arms, pretending to focus on work while sharing quick, knowing glances. Miss Linda Osifo arrived fashionably late in a flowing cream silk blouse tucked into a deep navy pencil skirt that hugged her waist like a lover's embrace. She wore oversized sunglasses despite being indoors, a deliberate choice to keep everyone guessing about her mood. A move only the supremely powerful could pull off. As she stepped out of her private elevator, a hush fell over the entire executive floor. Her stilettos echoed dramatically, and her perfume, an intoxicating mix of jasmine and sandalwood, spread like wildfire, leaving a trail of weakened knees. Linda breezed past the open office spaces straight into her corner office without acknowledging a single soul. Behind her, the glass door slid shut with a soft whoosh, sealing her world from the rest of humanity. Meanwhile, the reception area filled up quickly with visitors. There was Mr. Odom, a respected industrialist in a gray senator suit, drumming his fingers impatiently on the armrest. Next to him sat Mrs. Shola from a large pharmaceutical company, tapping furiously on her phone. A few foreign investors in crisp suits exchanged awkward, concerned looks. The receptionist, Tade, kept glancing nervously at Linda's door. A young, fiercely loyal staff member, he had been handpicked by Linda herself. To him, she was more than a boss, she was a goddess. Mr. Odom finally lost patience. He stormed to Tade's desk. "Young man, we've been sitting here for over an hour. This is no way to run a business. Where's Miss Osifo?" Tade bristled, his eyes narrowing. "Sir, Miss Osifo is in a very important closed-door session. She will attend to you shortly," he said, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. Mr. Odom's face turned crimson. "Important session? You think I came here to sit and listen to jazz music? Do you even understand who you're speaking to?" Tade scoffed, leaning back in his chair. "If you can't wait, you're free to leave. The door is right there." The older man sputtered, completely thrown off by the young receptionist's boldness. Furious, he gathered his file and stormed out, muttering curses. Inside Linda's office, it was a different universe entirely. She was draped across her plush velvet couch, still flushed from the morning's special session with her chosen IT staff. A glass of chilled white wine sat untouched on the side table. She scrolled lazily through her phone, smirking at the flood of text messages from her girls after last night's rooftop gossip session. Memories of Cunnel's shaky knees and Femi's terrified whimpers played on a loop in her mind, keeping her pulse quick. At intervals, she would stand and pace around, adjusting her blouse slightly to admire her silhouette in the mirror. She had always been deeply aware of her power, a weapon she wielded as expertly as a warrior with a blade. Her mind briefly drifted to the meeting she was supposed to have with the industrialists waiting outside. She let out a small laugh. "They can wait," she murmured, flicking her fingers dismissively as if shooing away a fly. Outside, after Mr. Odom stormed off, other guests began shifting in their seats, casting each other worried glances. Mrs. Shola finally stood up, straightened her skirt, and left too. Slowly, the waiting area emptied, leaving only echoes of angry footsteps and abandoned water bottles. Back inside, Linda finally took a long sip of her wine and stretched luxuriously, like a cat after a long nap. Business could wait. Her pleasure, her power, and her unchallenged dominance. That was all that truly mattered. Across the Atlantic, thousands of kilometers away from Lagos, a different kind of energy pulsed through a sleek glass building in Berlin. In a high-rise office that overlooked the sprawling German capital, Jack Okoye closed his laptop with a satisfying snap. At 32, Jack was already a legend in tech and finance circles, a young Nigerian billionaire who had built one of Europe's fastest-growing fintech companies from scratch. With a tall, commanding figure, caramel-toned skin that glowed with quiet confidence, and dark, neatly groomed waves, he exuded a magnetic presence. His eyes sparkled with intelligence and mischief, and he spoke with an accent that blended Yoruba musicality and European polish, a blend that melted hearts and disarmed rivals. Despite his wealth, Jack remained humble. He often spent his lunch breaks chatting with junior developers or surprising the cleaning staff with generous bonuses. While most billionaires hid behind tinted glass and armed guards, Jack walked freely through Berlin streets in simple jeans and designer sneakers. On this particular morning, Jack stood by his floor-to-ceiling window, watching the city come alive beneath him. His executive assistant, Clara, knocked lightly and entered with a soft smile. "Boss, your calendar is clear for the next 2 weeks. Are you sure about this break?" she asked, a hint of worry in her voice. Jack turned, hands in his pockets. "Clara, life is not just about numbers and graphs. I need to breathe, to explore." She chuckled nervously. "And you're choosing Lagos for that?" A mysterious smile spread across his lips. "I've heard Lagos has the best chaos money can't buy," he joked, winking. A day later, Jack touched down at Murtala Muhammad International Airport in Lagos. The humid air hit him immediately, and he inhaled deeply as if savoring a long-lost flavor. While his family and staff back in Germany assumed he was on a private vacation, Jack had other plans. He wanted to explore the pulse of Nigeria, not as a billionaire, but as an ordinary young professional. Using a different identity and toning down his usual luxury wardrobe, Jack applied for a managerial role at Solace Group. He read extensively about the company's flamboyant CEO, Miss Linda Osifo, and found her brand of chaos both intriguing and amusing. When he entered the glass-walled waiting area at Solace Group on his interview day, he blended easily among the young, hopeful faces. Some men adjusted their ties nervously. Others rehearsed potential answers under their breath. Jack, in contrast, sat relaxed in a simple navy shirt, tailored slacks, and brown loafers that hinted at quiet wealth. His eyes wandered to the Lagos skyline, taking in each detail with childlike wonder. Inside the building, whispers started to spread like wildfire. Even before his name was called, some staff were peeking from their cubicles, drawn to his magnetic aura. Finally, the inner door opened, and a staff member signaled, "Mr. Jack, it's your turn." He stood smoothly, flashed a gentle smile at the others, and walked in as though he owned the place. On the other side of that door, Miss Linda Osifo waited, flipping through files absent-mindedly. The moment her eyes met Jack's, she felt a jolt, a sensation she hadn't felt in decades. It was as though time slowed down, her heartbeat thundered, and her polished nails gripped the pen tightly. As Jack sat across from her, confident yet respectful, her mind raced with fantasies she barely understood herself. He was different. He was not another toy. He was a whole new game she didn't know how to play yet. And for the first time in her life, Miss Linda Osifo felt the tiniest hint of vulnerability. Miss Linda Osifo sat behind her large mahogany desk, the soft hum of the city far below floating up to her office like a distant song. She wore a sleek, deep burgundy dress today, hugging her figure as though it had been stitched onto her directly. Her honey blonde wig gleamed under the subtle glow of her designer office lamps, each wave cascading elegantly down her shoulders. Usually, before interviews, she felt a bored sort of excitement, a predator's hunger masked behind polite smiles. But today was different. She kept fidgeting, touching up her lipstick, rearranging her pen holder for no reason at all. When Jack finally stepped in, the room seemed to freeze. He entered with calm grace, his caramel skin practically radiant against the office's cool tones. His eyes held hers without flinching, and there was a softness to his confident smile that disarmed her instantly. For a brief, vulnerable second, she felt like a teenager caught staring at her crush. "Good morning, Ma," Jack said, his voice rich and smooth, almost melodic. Linda's carefully constructed composure cracked slightly as her tongue darted out to wet her lips. Good morning," she stammered, forcing a polite cough to steady herself. He sat down gently, crossing one leg over the other, his posture perfect. Unlike the other applicants who had fumbled and sweated under her gaze, Jack looked as though he was in control of the entire building. "So, tell me about yourself," Linda began, trying to sound authoritative. Jack's eyes twinkled slightly. "I'm passionate about strategy and innovation. I believe in building teams that not only perform, but thrive. My goal is always to leave a place better than I met it, stronger, more honest." Linda felt every word slice into her carefully protected walls. She almost forgot to breathe. Her mind drifted. She wanted to dismiss the other panel members immediately, to lock the door, to have him right there against her desk. She cleared her throat again, crossing her arms as though shielding herself from his presence. "What about loyalty? How important is loyalty to you?" Jack's eyes softened even more. "Loyalty is everything, Ma. Without it, power crumbles. Trust is the backbone of any great empire." Linda swallowed hard. Power, empire. His words sounded like poetry to her. She watched the shape of his lips as he spoke, the strength of his jawline when he smiled. A tiny part of her brain screamed at her to regain focus, but she ignored it completely. When he finally paused, Linda leaned forward, lowering her voice to a near whisper. "You know, you're very different, Jack. I see potential beyond the usual." Jack only smiled, tilting his head slightly as though studying her soul. "Thank you, Ma. That means a lot coming from you." She wanted to pounce, but she sensed something in his gaze, a barrier she wasn't used to seeing. He wasn't intimidated, nor was he begging to be devoured. Instead, he sat there grounded, quietly invincible. In that moment, Linda realized she had no control over him, not yet. And that terrified her as much as it excited her. By the end of the interview, Linda had already decided. Not only would she hire him, but she would place him in the highest position possible, directly next to her office. Her mind already churned, planning ways to break down his defenses, fantasizing about every scenario. As he stood to leave, she resisted the urge to stop him, to ask for more time. Jack gave a gentle nod. "I look forward to working with you, Ma." Linda watched him disappear through the glass door, her fingers trembling slightly over her pen. For the first time in her life, Miss Linda Osifo felt her own heartbeat echoing through her entire body, drumming out a dangerous new rhythm, desire mixed with genuine fear. After Jack's interview, the entire energy at Solace Group shifted like a sudden gust of harmattan wind. Miss Linda Osifo had always ruled her empire with an iron grip disguised in silk gloves. Her whims dictated everything: who stayed, who left, and who ended up in her private lounge after hours. But now, there was an invisible force that even she didn't fully understand. The day after Jack's appointment, Linda called a surprise executive meeting. Her staff, used to her extravagant unpredictability, shuffled in cautiously. Usually, such meetings ended with laughter and innuendo, often leading to some poor young man getting summoned upstairs. Today, however, Linda stood at the head of the sleek glass conference table in a sharply tailored white suit that screamed power and purity in equal measure. Her honey blonde wig had been restyled into soft curls that bounced slightly whenever she nodded. Her makeup was understated, but somehow made her look even more intimidating. She cleared her throat. "From today, there will be changes in the company's structure. Accountability and performance metrics will become our main focus," she announced, her voice echoing crisply across the room. A murmur spread through the group. Some staff exchanged bewildered glances, others sank lower into their chairs. Linda continued, "We're letting go of unnecessary roles. Anyone who cannot meet the new standards is free to leave." Almost immediately, rumors spread like wildfire. By noon, 3 of her longtime favorites had received exit letters and were seen dragging boxes of their belongings out the door. The hallway felt like a funeral procession. Jack, newly appointed as executive strategy director, settled into his office next to Linda's. His door was always slightly ajar, a gentle sign of openness, unlike Linda's fortress-like habits. He greeted everyone, asked about their families, and even joined junior staff in the cafeteria, something unheard of in Solace Group's history. Linda watched all of this unfold from her glass office. Each time she passed by his door, she found herself pausing, almost hoping to catch his scent or hear his laughter. She started dressing even more elegantly. Flowing silk blouses, intricately patterned skirts, and delicate gold jewelry. She burst into his office several times a day under the guise of urgent strategic discussions. But each time, Jack remained respectful and calm, offering her a seat and listening patiently, his warm smile unwavering. Every attempt she made to draw him into her web only made her fall deeper into her own. She even caught herself rehearsing lines in the mirror before visiting his office, a new low she never imagined she'd reach. The staff began to whisper. Madame Donde behaved somehow, one cleaner murmured to another in the restroom. In her circle of friends, the sudden transformation became hot gossip. During a private dinner at Adeora's mansion, Bola slammed her wine glass on the table. Linda, what has gotten into you? We hear you sacked all your favorite boys. Are you fasting? Linda forced a laugh, swirling her drink absent-mindedly. I just needed a new direction. A fresh start. Adora leaned forward, eyes twinkling mischievously. Or maybe someone new is giving you sleepless nights? The entire table exploded with laughter. Linda tried to deny it, but her flushed cheeks gave her away. Inside, she felt a frightening blend of vulnerability and excitement. For the first time, she wasn't the predator, she was the prey, and she loved every terrifying second of it. Saturday brunch at the landmark beach club was always a scene. Lagos elites sipping imported champagne with the Atlantic breeze teasing their designer scarves. But this particular weekend, the air sizzled with something stronger than the sun, curiosity. Miss Linda Osifo arrived last, fashionably as always. She wore a cream silk wrap dress that shimmered in the sunlight, oversized shades hiding her eyes, and a gold anklet peeking through her sandals. But even all that gloss couldn't distract her friends from what they had all noticed in recent weeks. She had changed. Linda, Bola called from their reserved cabana, waving her mimosa like a flag. Nawa'o, you've gone ghost on us. Adora chimed in. No calls, no rooftop gist, not even a scandal. Should we be worried? Linda laughed a little too loud, taking off her sunglasses slowly. I've been focused. Business has been demanding. Kemi, who hadn't said much, stared hard at Linda. Focused on business? Or focused on that new fine boy we've been hearing whispers about? The table went silent for a split second. Linda froze, her mimosa halfway to her lips. What are you talking about? Oh, come on. Bola shrieked. Linda, you, our certified man-eater, suddenly firing all your boys? Dressing like every day is a Vogue shoot? Something has entered your system, and I want to know the name. Adora leaned in, whispering dramatically. They said he's fine. Not just fine, God take control kind of fine. True or false? Linda tried to brush it off, but her blushing cheeks betrayed her. Bola clapped loudly. Ah, she's blushing. This one is serious. Okay, who is he? What's his name? Linda tried to look disinterested. His name is Jack. He's different. Kemi raised a brow. Different how? What does that even mean? Linda sipped her drink. He's smart, respectful, confident. He's not like the others. He doesn't even seem tempted. Bola narrowed her eyes. Wait, are you saying you haven't slept with him? The table gasped collectively. Ah, Linda! Adora exclaimed, nearly choking on her drink. Is this you? Is he a prophet? Kemi laughed so hard she slapped the table. This Lagos is finally humbling you. Linda rolled her eyes, pretending to be unbothered, but deep inside, she knew they were right. Jack had done something to her. He didn't melt under her gaze. He didn't stammer or try to impress her. He simply existed like he didn't need her approval. And somehow, that made her crave him more. I don't think he's like other men, she said softly. Bola leaned back. There's no such thing. They all fall eventually. You just haven't used the right bait. Kemi smirked. I'll make you a bet, she said, sipping her mimosa. Invite me to the office. Let me see this Jack with my own two eyes. I bet I can crack him within 5 minutes. The women roared with laughter, clinking glasses as the ocean breeze swept their giggles away. Linda laughed too, but a twinge of unease pricked her chest. Deep down, she didn't want Jack to be cracked. She wanted him to be the exception. Her exception. But she agreed anyway. Fine, she said with a smirk. Come to the office on Monday. Let's see how strong you are. Monday arrived like an overconfident guest at a house party. Uninvited and unstoppable. Miss Linda Osifo woke up at 5 a.m., something she hadn't done in years. She spent almost 2 hours picking out her outfit, finally settling on a custom-made peach blouse with delicate beaded details and a high-waisted black pencil skirt that hugged her hips like a loyal admirer. By 7 a.m., she was already at Solace Group's towering glass building. Her personal assistant stared in shock as Linda sashayed into her office humming, her honey blonde curls bouncing lightly. Around 9 a.m., Kemi arrived. She was a force on her own, tall, dark, with striking cheekbones that looked carved by the gods themselves. She wore a sleek crimson jumpsuit that looked painted on her curves and carried a designer handbag that screamed untouchable. Linda met her at the reception with a smirk. Welcome to the lion's den, she teased, leading her upstairs. Kemi surveyed the office like a cat scanning a new hunting ground. Neat. But where's this Jack that has your heart doing frog jump? Linda chuckled nervously. He should be in his office. I'll call him in. Minutes later, Jack stepped in. The room seemed to shift. His caramel skin glowed against his crisp white shirt, tucked perfectly into tailored navy trousers. The top button was undone, revealing just a hint of a strong collarbone. His dark waves looked freshly trimmed, and his signature calm aura radiated like the morning sun. Kemi froze mid-sentence. Her bold lips parted slightly as her eyes traveled slowly from his shoes to his eyes. For the first time in years, she seemed speechless. Jack greeted politely, "Good morning, Ma." "Good morning, madam," he said with a gentle nod. Linda smirked. "Jack, this is Kemi, a friend and a major partner in one of our side projects." Jack smiled warmly. "It's a pleasure to meet you." Kemi struggled to find her words, eventually managing. "Why, yes, pleasure, likewise." He held her gaze for a few seconds longer than normal, not in a flirtatious way, but in a steady, respectful manner. Then he shifted his focus to Linda, discussing reports and upcoming strategies as though Kemi wasn't even in the room. Kemi tried to lean forward, playfully twirling her braid, a classic move that worked like a charm on countless men. But Jack remained unmoved, his eyes fixed on a graph on Linda's desk. Linda watched the scene unfold, a mischievous joy bubbling inside her. For once, she wasn't the one fumbling, Kemi was. It was delicious. After Jack left, Kemi slumped back into her chair, her cheeks flushed. She grabbed her water bottle and gulped it down like someone who had just escaped a desert. Linda burst into a loud laugh, her whole body shaking. "Ah, Kemi, where are your big moves now?" Kemi shot her a deadly side-eye, but eventually joined in the laughter. That man is dangerous," she admitted, fanning her face. "So, you admit defeat." Linda teased, eyes twinkling. Kemi sighed dramatically. "I surrender. That one is not ordinary. He's a spirit." They laughed so hard that the secretary outside peeked in twice. Linda felt a rush of pride she didn't know she needed. Jack was truly different. And with that, Linda knew she wasn't just chasing another toy. She was falling into something she had never dared to believe in before, a real, living connection. The next few days at Solace Group felt like a new dawn. The usually chaotic, tension-charged hallways had become strangely calm. Staff moved with renewed purpose. Reports were on time, meetings were focused, and even the gossip seemed to have reduced to hushed, dreamy sighs about Jack. Miss Linda Osifo, however, was anything but calm. She had been planning, scheming, practicing lines in her mirror like a teenage girl plotting how to talk to her crush at the school gate. Every time she caught Jack's scent in the hallway, that subtle blend of cedarwood and crisp linen, Her knees threatened to buckle. On a Thursday afternoon, after an intense executive strategy meeting, Linda found herself alone in the staff kitchen. She was restlessly stirring a cup of herbal tea she didn't even want, staring blankly at the marble countertop. Suddenly, the door swung open. Jack stepped in, his presence so strong it almost pushed the air out of the room. He wore a light gray tailored shirt today, sleeves rolled up to reveal muscular forearms, and dark trousers that highlighted his athletic frame. Linda's breath hitched. Jack moved to the coffee machine, humming a soft tune as though he owned not only the room but the entire floor. She cleared her throat, gathering courage. "I know you must be disappointed with how things used to run here," she said, trying to sound casual. Jack glanced at her, his eyes soft but focused. "Not at all, Ma. Change takes time. I'm just doing my job, and it's a pleasure working for a brilliant and beautiful woman like yourself." Linda nearly dropped her mug. "Beautiful?" She felt warmth creep up her neck, spreading across her cheeks like an unexpected sunrise. Her mind raced. Did he mean it? Was this her opening? As she took a cautious step toward him, her heel caught on the wet edge of the floor mat. Time seemed to slow. She squealed, flailing as her mug flew from her hands. Jack reacted instantly. He lunged forward, catching her in one smooth, effortless motion. Their eyes locked, her lips parted, his breath steady but heavy. For a few heartbeats, the world shrank to just them, two souls suspended in an almost electric silence. Without thinking, Linda leaned forward, pressing her lips to his in a sudden, hungry kiss. To her shock, he didn't push her away immediately. He kissed her back, slow at first, then deeper, their breaths mingling like two storms colliding. But after about 20 seconds, Jack gently pulled back, steadying her upright with his strong hands. "I'm sorry, Ma," he said, voice low but firm. "I can't do this. You're my boss. I respect you too much." He stepped away, leaving her stunned, her lips tingling, heart hammering against her ribs. Linda stood frozen, her mind in 1,000 places. Shame and triumph danced together in her chest. He kissed her back, even if just for a moment. And that moment meant everything. As Jack left, Linda found herself smiling weakly, her fingers unconsciously tracing her lips. In that single stolen kiss, she felt more alive than she had in decades. For the first time ever, Miss Linda Osifo wasn't the hunter, she was prey, and she loved it more than she dared to admit. The next few days at Solace Group felt like a new dawn. The usually chaotic, tension-charged hallways had become strangely calm. Staff moved with renewed purpose. Reports were on time, meetings were focused, and even the gossip seemed to have reduced to hushed, dreamy sighs about Jack. Miss Linda Osifo, however, was anything but calm. She had been planning, scheming, practicing lines in her mirror like a teenage girl plotting how to talk to her crush at the school gate. Every time she caught Jack's scent in the hallway, that subtle blend of cedarwood and crisp linen, her knees threatened to buckle. On a Thursday afternoon, after an intense executive strategy meeting, Linda found herself alone in the staff kitchen. She was restlessly stirring a cup of herbal tea she didn't even want, staring blankly at the marble countertop. Suddenly, the door swung open. Jack stepped in, his presence so strong it almost pushed the air out of the room. He wore a light gray tailored shirt today, sleeves rolled up to reveal muscular forearms, and dark trousers that highlighted his athletic frame. Linda's breath hitched. Jack moved to the coffee machine, humming a soft tune as though he owned not only the room but the entire floor. She cleared her throat, gathering courage. "I know you must be disappointed with how things used to run here," she said, trying to sound casual. Jack glanced at her, his eyes soft but focused. "Not at all, Ma. Change takes time. I'm just doing my job, and it's a pleasure working for a brilliant and beautiful woman like yourself." Linda nearly dropped her mug. "Beautiful?" She felt warmth creep up her neck, spreading across her cheeks like an unexpected sunrise. Her mind raced. Did he mean it? Was this her opening? As she took a cautious step toward him, her heel caught on the wet edge of the floor mat. Time seemed to slow. She squealed, flailing as her mug flew from her hands. Jack reacted instantly. He lunged forward, catching her in one smooth, effortless motion. Their eyes locked, her lips parted, his breath steady but heavy. For a few heartbeats, the world shrank to just them, two souls suspended in an almost electric silence. Without thinking, Linda leaned forward, pressing her lips to his in a sudden, hungry kiss. To her shock, he didn't push her away immediately. He kissed her back, slow at first, then deeper, their breaths mingling like two storms colliding. But after about 20 seconds, Jack gently pulled back, steadying her upright with his strong hands. "I'm sorry, Ma," he said, voice low but firm. "I can't do this. You're my boss. I respect you too much." He stepped away, leaving her stunned, her lips tingling, heart hammering against her ribs. Linda stood frozen, her mind in 1,000 places. Shame and triumph danced together in her chest. He kissed her back, even if just for a moment. And that moment meant everything. As Jack left, Linda found herself smiling weakly, her fingers unconsciously tracing her lips. In that single stolen kiss, she felt more alive than she had in decades. For the first time ever, Miss Linda Osifo wasn't the hunter, she was prey, and she loved it more than she dared to admit.
Thank you for watching. We hope you have enjoyed it here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as this will help us grow and do more. Have anything to say about the story? Feel free to drop a comment.